What's up, everyone? Welcome in to the Bat Flip episode 7. Good to be back. Dylan led us to the promised land last week. I was out for work, but we're back. We're ready to go talking about Tennessee baseball. Their series win over Texas A&M. Might talk a little bit about that Lipscomb loss. Not too much, though.
Not a lot.
Positivity is what we need per Danny White. So that's what we're going to stick with. We're going to preview Kentucky a little bit coming up here in the next less than an hour and a half. So I want to get you out of here just in time for that. I'm Landon Raby, with me Dylan Taylor. And check out our sponsors, Tennessee Tap House, Hound Dogs, and Blue Water Climate Control. Here is a quick word from our good friends at Blue Water Climate Control.
People always ask, where did we get the name Blue Water Climate Control? When a Navy ship casts off lines, exits the harbor, and loses sight of land, that's blue water sailing. It takes a team of people to do that. Tireless work, focus, and attention to detail. So much of starting a business is just like that. After it's done, you get filled with deep satisfaction for accomplishing something. And it's quickly followed by, now the real work begins. We're Blue Water Climate Control.
All right, we're back. Let's get right into it. Tennessee coming off a series win over Texas A&M on the road in College Station. One game, one of the doubleheader on Saturday, and then dropped a tough one in game 2 of the doubleheader, and then took the rubber match, scoring 20 runs in that one, winning it 20-7. Just a hitting barrage in those last 3 innings. Had 15 hits. 15 runs, 16 hits, 5 home runs in that 3-inning stretch. 2 3-run home runs by Evan Russell, and it was the first time scoring 20 runs in an SEC game since 2010. Did it against Georgia, so a big weekend. Always good to get that win on the road, and good to get any SEC series win. So, what was your overall takes on that series against Texas A&M?
A lot of offense. Especially from Tennessee in every game. You had 31 combined runs. I know you had 6 the first game, 5 the second, then you had the
big one,
common 20-run game. Yeah, you see one of those all the time. But yeah, 31. You scored. The least you had was 5 runs. That was that Saturday game, or the second game of the Saturday doubleheader. Still one you probably should have won. I know I talked about it last week. It'd be nice to get a sweep over this Texas A&M team, but any SEC series, that's kind of going to be a reach a little bit, just because it's hard enough to beat a team 2 times in a row, let alone 3, let alone in the SEC. So the offense came to play. The Friday game got moved to Saturday. I feel like I say it every week with Chad Dallas, but it's just always something you can say. He's 6-1 now in the year. Had a great start. Yeah, we'll get into it a little bit later with the MVP, but Drew Gilbert, good to see him get the bat hot again now. I think he came in like 2 of his last 40 or whatever, something ridiculous like that. Dropped his batting average by like close to 80 points, I want to say. So good to see him get it going, especially in that last game.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of hit on some things that I wanted to hit on as well. Chad Dallas, the guy just shoves it. And he doesn't. We mentioned it after Vanderbilt, or before Vanderbilt. He doesn't have the stuff that Rucker and Leiter does, but man, he's just a dog on the mound, and that's somebody that you just want on your team at all times. And to have him as your Friday night guy, I think is huge. He really kind of kickstarts the whole entire series. And, another outing, 7 innings pitched. When you're able to get a starter, only giving up 1 run through 7 innings, you like your chances, especially with the power that Tennessee has. He had 5 strikeouts, 1 earned run, 5 hits, and then Sean Humley came in and did what he's done all season. Pitched 2 innings, 2 strikeouts, no hits, no runs, no errors. Those guys are just really consistent. That's really helped Tennessee tremendously in the SEC play. And then you mentioned Drew Gilbert, 2 for 40, I think, at one point on Saturday. I think he had 2 RBIs in that second game on Saturday. was 1 for 5, and then 4 for 6 with 3 RBIs on Sunday in that rubber match. I think that was huge for him. Hopefully he's able to carry that momentum into this Kentucky series. I think that'd be huge for Tennessee because I think he's probably your best hitter. Him or probably Jake Rucker. Those two guys are probably like those are two guys you want to keep going throughout the whole entire year. You don't want to have slumps like 2 for 40. I mean, that's bad, and it wasn't like he was striking out and things like that. I mean, he was
No.
barreling up some baseballs, but just couldn't get anything to drop. But yeah, it's super exciting for him to really get things going in that rubber match on Sunday. I thought Jake Rucker had a really good series, 9 for 14 with 3 RBIs. He was awarded SEC Co-Player of the Week for his performance. He just kind of brought it all series long. Evan Russell, I mean, that dude, all he does is hit stingers. I mentioned the 2 3-run home runs in the game on Sunday in those last 3 innings, and the one was to put us ahead in the 7th. And I don't know what he's eating. I don't know what got into Tennessee to really have that hitting barrage. I asked Ross Kivett about it, and he told me just to start talking to. So whatever it was, I think we need to continue that because I mean it's baseball's a crazy sport because you have, like you mentioned, you have that 20-run game, but then you come out against Lipscomb and only score 1 run in 9 innings. So and not a good Lipscomb team. Let's be blunt about it. They're not very good. And, definitely not a game you wanted to lose. But, I thought Tennessee played well throughout the weekend. It wasn't their cleanest game. They definitely had some errors. I know the conditions weren't great in College Station due to the wind and, sun, things like that. But definitely want to get that cleaned up for a Kentucky team who's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, we said it, or I know I said it last week. It's kind of my opinion, like those midweek games, especially against a team like Lipscomb. Obviously, state the obvious, you don't want to lose that game. Correct. But it's not an SEC game, and you come out, you handle your business this week against Kentucky, and I don't think it's really a game that's going to drop you much in the standings if you handle your business against Kentucky. Now, if you have that loss combined with you come out and get swept or 1-2 against Kentucky, then you get a little bit of questions, which seems odd for a team that sits at 32-10 right now in the year. But that's the kind of scenario those games can bring. If you win it, you're supposed to win it. Nothing really good comes out of it except, hey, we got another win. But losing them, I mean, it's kind of just whatever way you look at it. This team, I don't think it will be, especially after the game before you put up 20 runs. So I don't think it's a huge concern. You don't want to lose them, but it's doesn't really worry me too much, I don't think, as long as you come in, handle your business this weekend.
Yeah, I'll say this. If you're hitting the way that you did on Sunday in those last 3 innings, there's no one in the country that can beat you.
Yeah. They just used all their hits on Sunday. That's what it was.
Yeah, exactly. The bats were cracked. We'll blame it on that. The bats were juiced on Sunday, but yeah, ran out of juice on Tuesday. Didn't left them in College Station or something. I don't know what it was, but yeah, definitely wasn't the cleanest series on this past weekend against Texas A&M. Had some errors, but I don't really look for that to really carry over. I mean, at one point, like in the 5th inning when they took the lead, they scored those 5 runs in the 5th inning. You're like, holy crap, are we going to lose this series to Texas A&M? And then in the 7th, Evan Russell comes to the plate, and you're like, okay, well, that's it.
That's another theory. I know they kept saying on the broadcast on Sunday that Jake Rucker wasn't going to want to leave College Station after the hitting weekend he had, after Gilbert got hot, after Russell got hot. So they just didn't get on the bus or the plane. I don't know how they got back, but that's what we'll blame Lipscomb on. Yeah, they're still in College Station right now. They're back within the next hour.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, a tough game. You want to get the sweep over a team like Texas A&M, but you go on the road and you win the series. Not a lot to really complain about. The Lipscomb game does kind of worry me a little bit because, like, but you out hit them. You left too many guys on base, and I know that's kind of been it's not a recurring thing, but it's something that's definitely been noticed a little bit, especially from guys that really sit down and cover this team. So definitely want to get that cleaned up for this game against Kentucky. I don't really know how many we left on base. 13 guys left on base. I mean, you're not going to win many games when that's the case. I know they had the bases loaded at one point. I know the Max Ferguson issue on first base. I don't know how that's called, but apparently they're making all the calls. You saw that call in the major league where they called a runner's interference. So
it's a Tennessee thing too. I get that was Zach Godley that it was called against. So it's always Tennessee something related. So it's
they hate us.
It doesn't surprise me anymore.
They hate us. But yeah. So do you have anything else for this past weekend or Lipscomb or anything like that?
Not really. I mean, I guess you kind of mentioned it a second ago. The thing that kind of always, when you have a game like that against Lipscomb, the thing that always kind of stands out is the runners left on base. We've kind of said that all year, but my new thing is kind of it seems, and maybe I haven't checked the numbers on it, so maybe what I'm saying is just completely out of pocket, but it seems like the fielding is a little bit. It's kind of becoming an issue. I mean, you had an error against Lipscomb, which one error, that's not going to kill you. You won 20-7, obviously on Sunday, but 3 errors in that game too. I mean,
it could have cost you the game.
Yeah, some of that, that's what I was going to say. It's a product of maybe you're getting younger guys in a 27 game, something like that. Maybe the bulk of them are in these midweek games when you're playing. You're playing younger guys that normally aren't in there. But it just seems like this year, and I know compared to the MLB, you're going to have more errors in college. That's just the name of the game. But that's my new thing that I've kind of, and again, we're just kind of picking right now. 32-10, not many complaints, but that's kind of my new thing is I'd like to see the fielding get cleaned up a little bit, just because especially last year and the year before, it seems like our fielding was always pretty solid, and it is still very solid. But like you said, I mean, a 20-7 game, 3 errors, obviously it didn't cost you, but we saw against Vanderbilt where a couple errors like that's the deciding factor. So I guess that's my main thing. I mean, good series win, obviously. Lipscomb, who knows what happened, but yeah, that's my new thing. Just I'd kind of like to see it be a little cleaner in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tennessee, I think, is a really good defensive team, and they've kind of, they have that grit to them where they don't beat themselves. So that's kind of why it's been noticeable, because they're a team that usually takes care of business in the field and doesn't. Or they're going to make teams earn everything, and to see that crooked number in the error column, that's not something that's really been an issue with this team up to this point. So yeah, definitely want to get that cleaned up, get the runners on base. When you got to put it in play, and I'm just tired of seeing, and it's not been a constant battle, but I don't want to see guys when you have one out and then you strike out with runners in scoring position. I mean, that's something that just can't happen. You got to find a way to do your job. Get the runner over, put it in play at least, and
hit it somewhere.
Yeah, see what happens. When they had the bases loaded against Lipscomb, we had a strikeout and then a walk to load the bases, and then we had a infield fly and then another strikeout with the bases loaded. That's stuff like that just can't happen. You're too good of a baseball team. You're top 5 in the country for a reason. That should not be the case in a game. I don't really care who's in the game. I think Tennessee has plenty of good hitters to be able to at least squeeze out a run or two in that instance. So, because you got a lot of guys in on Sunday, and I think 10 guys had a hit and 8 guys had multiple hits. So you can do it. It's just got to be done day in and day out. Maybe it's because not everybody was playing. Maybe there was kind of a bit of a hangover, if you will, for that Lipscomb game. But hopefully they're able to clean it up for Kentucky. Who's your MVP this past weekend?
I'll go Drew, just because I know coming from a guy that never swung the bat really well in high school, I know how frustrating it is to either hit something hard, not getting hit, not getting on base. That's even if it's just a dink hit, something like that. But like you mentioned, Drew's probably. I mean, you've got Liam and you've got Jake. I mean, he's definitely your top three, one of your best, just pure hitters. So even if it's just something soft like that to get a hot streak started, that means the world. Like just something where you can stand on first base and you actually got there. You didn't get walked, you didn't get hit. Like Drew does get hit a lot, but something where you swung the bat and you put it in play and you got on base. That can start a hot streak. I hope it does for him because like we said, I mean, he's the cleanup hitter. You need him. If you're winning SEC series, you didn't need it against Texas A&M. Really, you did that last game. I mean, you didn't need it, but he definitely showed out. But against the Vanderbilts, everybody like that, you need Drew Gilbert hitting the ball if you're going to win those series. So I'll go with him just because I know that had to be frustrating for him, especially he's a fiery kid. So him breaking out, hopefully. I mean, nobody hit the ball well Tuesday, but hopefully that can be kind of a spark for him to where he can the second half of this season. Maybe by the end of the year he's back up over 300 by then.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go somebody a little different. I think Drew Gilbert had a great series. I mentioned him earlier. I think Pavo is another guy who had a pretty good series, had 2 home runs in it. I think he has 4 now on the season, which it took him a long time to get that first one, and now you see it kind of picking up a little bit. I think that's
crushed
huge
that
for this
one.
lineup.
Crushed that one to center. Absolutely
Absolutely.
crushed. They were talking about Evan Russell's, how it was a bomb, and then Pavs cleared that by another 20 feet.
It's still going.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go. I think you could go Evan Russell. You know, I looked at him. He went 5 for 13, 8 RBIs, but 6 of those were in that game on Sunday. I'm gonna go with the guy who brought it all series long, and that's Jake Rucker. 9 for 14 in the series, 3 RBIs, 5 extra base hits, including 4 doubles, 1 home run. That's why he was co-SEC Player of the Week. I mean, the dude just brought it. And, he's been kind of hot for a while. And, I'm hoping this is just a reoccurring thing that he's a 350 hitter because I think Tennessee needs that. Hitting number 3 in your lineup, a dangerous guy. He's a major league hitter. I think maybe Chris Burke said that. I mean, he just carries himself like a major league hitter. So, I'm sure that he's going to probably be an all SEC player, and then hopefully he's able to jump up some draft boards.
Yeah, and I checked that stat earlier just to make sure, because if I was wrong, I was going to correct it. But on the fielding, going back to the last full season, which was 2019, obviously you didn't have big of a sample size last year. 2019, you had 48 errors all year. Now you're already at 38 this year, and you've just kind of passed the halfway part. Now the percentage, you're at 976. I think 2019 you were in the 9.8s, maybe high 9.7. So the percentage isn't much a difference, but is a little concerning that you're already over halfway. I mean, you're 10 shy of what you had in the 2019 season. And it like we've seen, it hasn't really cost us this year. I mean, you could make a case that Vanderbilt game, maybe it cost you there, but it hasn't cost us all year. But late in the year, I mean, I think we close with Arkansas late in the year, and then you get in the tourney. Obviously, hopefully, we're hosting a regional by then. You got to get it cleaned up by then, or that will cost you. And for a team like this, it'd be awful to go home and lose a game like that in a regional, or if you're lucky enough to make it to Omaha, to go home on just a wide throw to first base, something like that. So I wanted to make sure that I actually had that right, but I thought it seemed like we've been a little errant with it this year.
Yeah, and I know Steenstra has kind of struggled in the field a little bit while Liam Spence is hurt, so that probably has something to do with it. That 2019 team was really good defensively, and that's what kept them in a lot of ball games. You had Andre Lipsius at third, you had Ricky Martinez at second, or I'm sorry, at shortstop. So that was a really good defensive team. So if you're able to, keep that up and not surpass that 48 mark, I think that's something to really hang your hat on. But got a little bit to do. But Kentucky comes to town here. in about the next hour. Tennessee will host Kentucky, a little bit different. Starting on a Thursday night, you'll see Chad Dallas on the mound. Kentucky's kind of been the surprise of the SEC. I think Tennessee's probably up there as well. But Kentucky was predicted to finish dead last in the East, and here they are 9-9 in conference played, 25-13 on the year. Well, one thing that doesn't worry me about Kentucky, they're 5-5 in away games. So most of their wins have been at home. So
20-8. Okay.
Right, and they are coming off a series win against Alabama. They won that 2-1, won the rubber mats. I think they won the game on Saturday 11-0. And I thought Alabama was a pretty good team.
Had 7 home runs, I think.
Yep, and then they lost their series before that to Georgia, and then I think they got beat by LSU as well. And they got swept by Mississippi State. They swept Auburn, which is kind of surprising to me because I think Auburn's a pretty decent team. Won the series against Missouri. So I think this is a pretty decent team. I think their first baseman is one of the best players in the conference. I think he leads them in home runs with 14. And so definitely want to keep him inside this ballpark, inside Lindsey Nelson. And I think you got a really good chance to, I'd love to sweep. I'd love to get the brooms out. But, we'll take a series win all day long.
Yeah, they seem like an up and down team, but I think they are kind of a younger team this year. That's normally what you see when you're down around the bottom of the conference, unless you're Vanderbilt football where you're just always there. But I mean, normally if you're a younger team like that, you can be dangerous. So it's definitely not a series which I know I've said it before. SEC, you can't take your foot off the gas, but young players like that, it's always kind of you've got on the one hand they're not as experienced and they may be going in a little bit timid, but sometimes you've got the freshmen that come in that don't know that they should be scared of anything. Yeah, they don't
Right.
know to be timid. So that's always, especially, I mean, it's at home, so that helps. They've got to travel, like you said, 5-5. So just watch out. Like, you handle your business, you should be fine with a 2-1 series win. Hopefully a sweep. Hopefully you can follow it up after the Lipscomb loss. But just watch out. Like, a young team like that, they can always. I mean, you saw with Tennessee a couple years ago. They can always be dangerous if they have the right day.
Yeah, and if Tennessee, I think if you kind of make them earn it, make them beat you. I don't. They're not better than you, talent wise. So you got to make them earn it, make them beat you, and I think Tennessee will be just fine. I'm excited. I hope there's a lot of home runs on Tennessee side of things. I hope Evan Russell just continues his tear on the SEC. I think he's hit 10 in SEC play, which is ridiculous. Just continue that tear. Let's go dingers only. How about that?
Yeah, one of the rare players that steps up in SEC play over non-conference play. I mean, you mentioned all it took was a stern talking to. Maybe I don't know. I don't know how.
Whatever it is, we need more stern talking tos if
Yeah.
that's the case. But that's all we got. Do you have anything else before we get out of here?
That's it, I guess. I know the Legends had to take a few games off. They had finals coming up, which I understand. I'm in the midst of it right now, but hopefully they're back for the series this week.
Probably a little hoarse, a little hungover. They probably just need a couple games off. I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
I'm
there.
Be there in full support, and we'll go get us a series win. Guys, thank y'all. Y'all have a good weekend. Have a good week. Go Vols.